SCP-2747 Object Class Keter Threat Level Black Special Containment Procedures Foundation watchdog algorithms are to monitor online and print media for mention of SCP-2747 positive key phrases. All matches are to be tagged and forwarded to the Department of Analytics, which will provide further confirmation of SCP-2747 manifestation. In case of positive identification, all affected media are to be suitably corrected via standard Foundation media alteration protocols 912, the Twilight Zone, and 943, a poisoned well. Description: SCP-2747 is a phenomenon appearing in print and online media, whereby platforms dedicated to the discussion of works of fiction began to mention a non-existent instance of fictional media. Despite said non-existence, articles, posts, comments, and other related meta-content created with regard to the non-existent work of fiction will be found treating it as real. The non-existent work of fiction can be mentioned by various individuals in varying capacities, ranging from brief mentions in forum posts to being the subject of entire academic essays. Descriptions, screenshots, photographs of physical copies, and brief segments of text from said work of fiction can often be discovered in SCP-2747 affected media. Descriptions of it are entirely consistent with each other, and it has proven possible to reconstruct whole segments of fictitious media via descriptions of it taken from SCP-2747 generated meta-content. A list of fictitious media generated by SCP-2747 has been appended below. See Appendix A. Where possible, the affected material can be traced to existing individuals. However, when questioned under duress, said individuals invariably deny having written the affected material and deny all existence of the fictitious media mentioned within. SCP-2747 has never been documented in real time. All observed instances thus far have been recorded post hoc. No instances have been documented prior to January 2008. The reason for this is unknown. Conforms to pataphysical observations documented in full in Appendix B. It is the current hypothesis of the Department of Analytics that SCP-2747 represents evidence of a naturally occurring anafabula, or anti-narrative, a cluster of interdependent signs, iconography, and narratives, one that, when included to a sufficient extent within a fictional construct, leads to mutual annihilation. First-hand reconstruction of the anafabula's properties is impossible given its anomalous nature, but second-hand and third-hand descriptions have been generated from observational procedures lucid chalice and appended below. See Appendix. It can affect through layers of metafictional narrative, i.e. a metanarrative containing the anafabula will cease to exist within the narrative, followed by the narrative itself disappearing from our reality. 2. The key identifier of the anafabula is that it invariably represents an in-universe antagonist or anathema in all manifestations of SCP-2747, likely due to inherent narrative components indicating its alien, yet centralizing, nature. Update: the above-mentioned hypothesis has been confirmed as a working model of SCP-2747. Please refer to Appendix B. Update: the following procedures are to be enacted following the successful conclusion of observational procedure lucid chalice. See Appendix. At no time are the properties of the anafabula, as outlined in Appendix B, to arise in real life, whether as a result of deliberate or natural action. Any object, person, or event bearing more than significance level to the semblance threshold is to be altered via whatever means possible. Access to information regarding SCP-2747, especially the information contained within Appendix B, is to be strictly limited to clearance levels 42747 and 3 analytics. Due to the pataphysical implications and inherent uncontainability of SCP-2747 as detailed in Appendix B, it is to be classified as Keter with immediate effect. Footnotes: 1. A narrative is defined as a base unit of a narrative, much in the same way that a mytheme denotes a base unit of myth, or a meme denotes a base unit of culture. 2. This interpretation of pataphysical reality layers of metafictional narrative has yet to be verified by Foundation observations at large, but appear concurrent with observations obtained from transfictional anomalies such as SCP-1304, SCP-2614, and 001 redacted. 3. The film's title describes itself. It is the Japanese phonetic pronunciation for the English word title. 4. While Poca existed as a major game development studio operating out of Seoul between 2002 and 2005, no record of No Sister of Mine has ever been found. 5. In particular, Green felt that the album suffered from hasty and uncoordinated post-production, likely not undertaken by Radiohead themselves. Audio cuts between the 5th and 6th track were described to be unnecessarily jarring, given the seamless flow between every other track in the album. 6. A number of individuals partially match this description, though no work similar to Mavine exists. 7. The End. K. Ingrid. Time. Issue 35. 208. Computer program randomly generates tons of stories. Most or all of these stories contain metafiction stories within stories, some of which contains more metafiction, and so on to various levels of complexity and nestedness. If any of these stories have certain types of data irregularities, the algorithm will flag them as showing signs of SCP-2747, by summarizing the shared characteristics of the stories that turn out to be 2747 related. The Foundation can work out what 2747's trigger conditions actually are. The Foundation will also use the work of artists who write metafiction as another source of stories for Lucid Chalice. Laconic description. SCP-2747 is a phenomenon where people start talking about non-existent works of fiction. They might be casually mentioning these stories, writing about them on Wikipedia, creating fanfiction, publishing academic essays, or whatever. It's just that the stories they're describing were never written. The stories that the anomalous articles talk about all tend to share a certain set of narrative tropes. These include a mysterious, antagonistic figure or object that may be black, thorny, and/or destructive, sets of 7 characters, scenes, or other objects. A core idea alluded to or partially described, but never actually seen, and incomplete narratives, where a story or quest ends before it can be completed. Other shared features will be listed in the article's addendum B. Actually, the Department of Analytics thinks these non-existent stories aren't imaginary. They were written, it's just that they've since been destroyed, literally erased from existence. The erasure isn't quite perfect though. It leaves residue like Wikipedia articles and blog posts so we can see the hole in the world where the story used to be. It's even easier to see that hole when a piece of metafiction is a story within a story that is erased, since it leaves a hole in a parent story that still exists. Over time, the erased story's parent story will also be erased, and that one's parent story, and so on. Foundation believes this is because the destroyed stories contained an anafabula, or anti-narrative, a set of tropes and symbols which, when put together, make a story that erases itself. Observational Processor Lucid Chalice is trying to figure out exactly which tropes are in that set, by generating stories at random until enough of them disappear. Laconic Addenda. Addendum describes 7 of the vanished stories, ranging from a Gabriel Garcia Marquez novel to an anime to a thinly veiled parody of the SCP Wiki itself. Addendum B, which is supposed to contain the results of Lucid Chalice, that is, the exact contents of the anafabula, is empty. The data has been lost. The notes above the addenda imply that the Foundation realizes both that its world is fictional and even realizes that it was created in 2008. And that its entire multiverse consists of nested layers of stories. That's why this SCP is Keter, because if it can destroy a meta-story in the Foundation universe, and then destroy the story that meta-story is part of, the next story it destroys will be the Foundation universe itself. Additional context. Note that the actual SCP-2747 article on the real-world SCP Wiki includes the elements of the anafabula. The 7 items in addendum are the set of 7 scenes. The anafabula itself is the mysterious, destructive antagonist, and the article circles its ultimate punchline without ever stating it outright. It even ends before it can be completed, since addendum B is lost. Thus, SCP-2747 itself is an instance of the anafabula, and we can expect it to destroy itself soon. After that, it will destroy its parent story world, the SCP Wiki itself. After that, it'll destroy the world containing the Wiki, which is the real world. Our world.